chapter was networking across cultures, and it starts out by recapping on why networking is so important. Basically, it allows you to tap into a pool of knowledge that you don't have. People usually specialize in one topic or two, and when you're in a new project where you don't exactly know what you'll be doing, you don't know the topic as well, you can access your network and find more about it. Secondly, it allows you and gives you future opportunities that you don't see at first. For example, when I was 19 and applying to my first internships, and the first few interviews didn't go that well because I had no experience, and in the end of the year I was out of an internship. And one thing that's also important is remembering that networking is not about just the people you know. There's second degree and third degree connections, so basically you can go like I did to my parents and ask if they knew someone that had an internship in the area I wanted. In less than 2 weeks I was doing the internship. And another example is 2 days ago I had an interview that came about because a friend of mine texted me and said, hey, a position just opened now. I was wondering if you were interested. If you want to, just send me your CV and you'll have the interview. Last year the same thing happened to me, so this is the importance of networks. And the third point is you have to keep on working on that, because if you'll get better at it eventually. At the beginning it's very hard to try and connect with a person that's been working in an industry for 6 years and you don't know exactly what to say, but after a few times you'll get better at it. So networking is like a marathon. You should keep grinding on it and never stay focused on the end goal. And while you're doing that, a lot of times it's more effective than having good grades or anything else that you might think of. Secondly, you need to be proactive and show interest in when you're meeting someone. You have to ask interesting questions, and not only about work-related. One advice is to connect first at the human level. So not only ask about their personal background, on what just random questions to get someone to know you better and be more familiar with you, and then you can move into more work-related stuff, for example. Also, you cannot be too aggressive and needy at first. I've seen things that would just completely embarrass me, and I've watched things that were completely wrong. And also, don't ignore cultural differences. Be aware of them, and actually they can be good icebreakers at the beginning of a conversation. Next, after you connect with someone, it's very important to follow up, not only in the short term but also in the long term. You should follow up within 48, 72 hours. Actually, I have a story about that too. Last year I went to London for a bank presentation in Omura, and the presentation was great. You have a networking session after, food and drinks, and a couple of weeks later we met again the guy that was giving the presentation, and he said, so if any of you had sent me a follow-up email, we all did, but we took a week or something. In the next 48 hours, I would have recommended you for an interview, because none of you did. You didn't get an interview. The HR girl sent me an email. Did someone stood out? If any of you sent an email just following up and showing interest, I would have recommended you for interviews. And honestly, I felt that, and pardon my French, that was kind of a dick move, but it goes to show you how important that is in today's job market. And finally, getting a mentor can be also very, very important, because it's usually a more senior person that can open doors, that also has an extensive network of their own, and can open doors that you, with your regular network of friends and colleagues, you can't exactly tap into. So
comments from the group? What do you think about the example there, the move with the email from Dick move there? Do you think what you guys think about that?
I think it kind of makes sense because it's a little hard to stand out in a networking event. Everyone's like huge, round, everyone's trying to jump and say something, so at the same time it's actually maybe when you can get distinct, but I also wouldn't do it, or I would also got
Say people talking to him, and
Yeah, okay, but I think the follow-up is also important.
Yeah.
I think networking events, they just from an employer's point of view, they make sense because you can just see really how people deal with awkward situations. And it's very important in the business world that you can just ignore this awkwardness around it and just talk to people like it's natural, because you really see some people can't do it and some are really good at it. So I think it's a quality that you should have, even if it's really not fun at all. But
yeah. What if you're not good, if you're not very social or very good at, some people have the flair, right? Some people can just are very social and very good at handling those kind of situations. What if you're not, if you're shy and you're not so good at it? Is there any techniques or anything you can do to still be a good networker?
I would say just keep at it and you'll eventually get better, because the worst thing that can happen is you don't get to talk with someone again. You'll meet him once and you'll never see him in your lifetime. So.
Yeah. I think my advice there would be to kind of sometimes be open about, if we were exposed to, and you will in a trainee program, constantly be exposed to executives and all sorts of people, and maybe there's one or two you think, all right, you're head of business development, I find that an interesting area, or you're the logistics director, and I like supply chain, and I thought that project that I've read about was very, very interesting. To just have a purpose, go up and to this person saying, actually I saw you were on the list here tonight, and I wanted to talk to you because I understand you're the director of supply chain here, and I read about this project, and I'm very interested in supply chain, and I could definitely imagine working within that area. Being a bit open, it is a networking situation, and it's okay to be open, and people really like being flattered, when they say, oh, I think that project that you're running is very interesting. Oh, I read about my project? And they'll get talking anyway, so it's more about getting them to talk anyway than it is to have yourself talk. But okay, really good. There's two parts here. It's the networking across culture. It's the networking in general, and then networking across cultures. So, yeah, I think you touched on most of it, Jose. Tap into knowledge. And remember that they can open some doors for you, the people that you network with. You gave some examples yourself. It's extremely powerful, and I completely underestimated it as a trainee. And the more you do it, the better you become. You said that, Yuri. Groom your network. You can actually be a little bit calculative about it. And I have a friend back in Stockholm, and he works for a consultancy. We're really good friends. He's trying to sell to me because he knows that, we could buy consultancy work from him maybe. That's fine, but just be open with it. Maybe I can sell to you. Don't hide it. It's better to be open with it, and that's completely fine, because friends typically want to help each other. And as I said, have a purpose with your networking. Look at who are the people that are coming to this. Who are the people coming in here, and which of these am I most interested to speak to, and kind of go for them. And then cultural etiquette and conventions. I was in England, and the first time, and in England, you're quite negative, and you talk a little bit about the weather, and you complain about stuff a little bit, because that's how they do. I then came to the US, and first day on the job, I go out to this central warehouse distribution center. It's called Oaks. I'm standing there with the warehouse manager. He's smoking. It starts to rain, and I'm thinking, perfect. You know, I'm so engaged in this UK way. You know, here's an opportunity for me to talk about the weather and complain. So I tell him, oh, it's raining, isn't it typical? Because that's how I've just been wired to do it in England. And he looks at me and he says, well, you're a native son of a bitch, aren't you? You know? Bam! You know, it's like, oh, okay. In the US, you know, we're stupidly positive all the time, you know? So it might sound obvious, but remember that the cultural difference it's just very, very big. And I see it also across the Nordics. You don't always have to talk about business. There's a person behind you, and there's a person behind the person you're networking with. And it's typically at the end of the day they're having a dinner and they've done business all day. You know, if you have a common interest and you can talk about that, then that's also a good way, because you're also giving them a break and just getting to know them as people. And then follow up quickly after an encounter. I think, Jose, you mentioned that as well. It sounded quite harsh with what they did there, sending that out. Maybe it was a signal for you guys to, you still have an opportunity here. We really need to hire, so you could maybe have called them again. But it sounds a bit harsh what they were doing there. And then the last point here, it can be very advantageous to have a mentor. I think I don't know if do you have a mentor program here? It can be very, very advantageous, but you've got to be structured about it. You've got to find out what is it I want to get out of my mentorship, and talk to the mentor and say, this is what I want to get out. I want you to help me with this, and this is the goals of our mentorship. And that's very, very important, because otherwise, you know, you've got to direct them as well. So that was networking across cultures.